Are you curious how much money you need to have saved up in order to retire? You're in luck because today we'll be going over the details of just that. Retirement is the long-awaited phase of life when you graduate from the daily grind and start to spend your time how you want. But retirement doesn't necessarily have to start at the age of 65, nor does it have to involve sipping pina coladas on the beach all day. I personally consider retirement to be synonymous with financial freedom. Once you have amassed enough capital, you no longer have to work a job you don't like just to put food on the table. It's about freedom to do what you wish with your time. In fact, if you are working a job that you absolutely love, you may choose to do exactly what you are doing now, even after you achieve financial freedom, or retire. But the key word here is choose. You choose to work instead of having to work out of obligation. Now that we have my take on retirement out of the way, let's dive into how much money you actually need to retire comfortably in 2023. Oh, and if you're curious to learn more, I carefully handpicked a list of the best personal finance books that have helped me achieve financial freedom and left links in the description. They will certainly help in propelling you closer to retirement. You can support my channel by purchasing below so I can continue making content you enjoy. The average American believes that they need $1.8 million to retire, and according to Schwab's online survey, only 37% of U.S. workers think this is attainable. While $1.8 million is a good starting point for anyone living in the United States, there is no one-size-fits-all rule. Each individual has different needs, and it cuts into even retirement needs. Envisioning your needs. The first step in calculating your retirement is to ask yourself, what do I really need? Planning for retirement is not just about crunching numbers. It is an opportunity to live life on your own terms, free from work-related responsibilities and time constraints. To effectively assess your retirement needs, it's essential to visualize the lifestyle you want to lead. Where do you see yourself living during retirement? Do you dream of retiring in the quiet countryside, near the ocean, or in an active urban environment? What are your travel aspirations? Have you always desired to explore new countries, take road trips, or simply enjoy local getaways? What activities do you want to pursue in retirement? Whether it's engaging in hobbies, volunteering, or spending time with family and friends, identify the pursuits that bring you joy. By visualizing your retirement lifestyle, you can easily set measurable and realistic goals rather than fantasize. This clarity will guide your financial planning, ensuring that your savings plan aligns with your dreams and aspirations. After all, someone hoping to retire in the heart of Manhattan, wishing to eat out for every meal, will have a very different retirement number compared to someone who hopes to retire as an expat in Thailand, living on home-cooked meals. Once you've calculated your monthly expenses as a retiree, multiply that number by 12 to get your annual expenses. For instance, say your monthly expenses come out to about $4,166. Multiply this number by 12 to get $50,000 per year. Now, a simple and quick way to calculate how much you would need is to then multiply your expense by 25. With an annual expense of $50,000, that number comes out to $1.25 million. Now that's already quite different from the initial news report that said $1.8 million. And as of 2023, I'd say most people can live comfortably in most rural areas of the US with $50,000. Of course, if you'd like to live in an urban area, the number can be much higher. Say your annual expenses were $150,000 in New York or California. This means you would need about $3.75 million to retire comfortably. However, say you wanted to go live in Thailand or Costa Rica to enjoy the warm weather and low costs of living. This number may go as low as a few $100,000. Inflation. We all know that inflation erodes the purchasing power of money over time, causing prices to rise. The rates vary from year to year, but even modest inflation can significantly impact your expenses over a retirement that could last 20 to 30 years or more. Even while inflation declined in June to 3% from a 40-year high of 9.1% a year earlier, high inflation has remained the biggest barrier for savers. Inflation is now seen by 62% of workers as a barrier to saving for a happy retirement, up from 45% last year. So what's the solution? Try to adjust your retirement savings and income projections a little to account for inflation. One common recommendation is to assume a conservative annual inflation rate of around 2 to 3% when planning for retirement expenses. Keep in mind though, if you have a diversified portfolio of assets, over the long run, they should keep up with, if not outperform, the inflation rate. While it is a good idea to incorporate the inflation rate into your calculations, a sound, high-income generating portfolio could be your solution. I will go over this toward the end of this video, so stay tuned. Once you do all this, the next thing is to determine how long you need your retirement funds to last. If you retire at the age of 65, you may, on average, have a little less than 20 years in retirement. This, of course, varies drastically if you're hoping to retire at the age of 45. Incorporating life expectancy and longevity into your retirement plan requires careful consideration and may necessitate conservative assumptions to ensure sufficient financial resources throughout your retirement years. While it would be great to sustain and grow your capital even in retirement so that you can pass down something to your children, keep in mind you can also use the principal amount of money, especially later in life. If you want to retire earlier in your life, you would ideally want to live only off of the gains and income your principal generates. Now, let's talk about income sources and building a portfolio so you may not have to use your principal amount. Understanding retirement income sources. As you plan for your retirement in 2023, you will also need to understand the sources of income that will support your post-work life. This is because, in retirement, income can come from various sources, each playing a distinct role in supporting your financial needs. And as we mentioned, building out a good portfolio may be the difference between a comfortable retirement and financial insecurity. The primary sources of income for most retirees are pensions, Social Security, annuities, and investments. A pension, if you're fortunate to have one, is a stable stream of income during retirement. It is determined by your years of service and salary. Social Security, another basic source of retirement income for many, is dependent on the age at which you begin receiving benefits, your average earnings, and your work history. Both a pension and Social Security begins later in life, at age 62 or older. Annuities are insurance products that can provide a guaranteed stream of income in retirement. They can offer protection against longevity risk, ensuring you won't outlive your income. Investments held in various investment accounts, such as 401ks, IRAs, and brokerage accounts, can also help you generate steady retirement income. Now, investments are an important area to focus on. Most retirees mostly consider stocks and bonds. As a retiree, however, it's important to optimize for income. As a result, I have personally focused more on dividend stocks, high-yield bonds, and real estate. A diversified dividend stock portfolio can earn 3 to 6% in yield, while high-yield bonds can yield 3 to 7%. Because stocks and high-yield bonds can be riskier, you want to diversify across geography, sector, and market cap. Next is real estate. Real estate, if done right, could be a game changer in retirement, as it offers high yield and appreciation. Unlevered real estate can generate yields of 5 to 8%. That is, if you bought all cash. If you bought with a mortgage, especially if you bought correctly with low rates, you can generate yields of more than 10%. This, of course, depends on your risk tolerance, but I personally have almost 50% of my assets in real estate. The rest is in a combination of dividend stocks, the S&P 500, and bonds. The reason my real estate allocation is high is because of the high yield it generates for me, while also appreciating over time. Of course, you should consult with your financial advisor before making any changes to your portfolio. 4% rule. Remember that rule where you multiply your annual expenses by 25? That is the inverse of something called the 4% rule. The 4% rule is a widely known guideline that offers a conservative approach to retirement withdrawals. The 4% rule states that retirees can remove 4% of their initial portfolio balance the first year of retirement. They can raise the withdrawal amount yearly in the succeeding years to account for inflation. If retirees adhere to the norm, their portfolio should survive for roughly 30 years without completely draining their funds. The rule is founded on historical data, using historical market returns to project the likelihood of a portfolio's longevity. It aims to strike a balance between withdrawing enough to cover expenses while preserving the principal for future years. After you decide what your retirement needs, account for inflation, and recognize your primary sources of retirement income, the next step is to calculate how much you really need for retirement and then start saving towards it. How much do you really need to retire? If you plan to retire at 65 and the average life expectancy is 83, you can expect to live for at least 18 years in retirement. Using that information, determine how much you think you will need annually to live comfortably, and whether you want money left over after your death, and then estimate how much your retirement fund should be in total to achieve this. As we've seen, depending on where you live, this can range from just $400,000 all the way up to $4 million. However, if you are young and are in a career path you are not thrilled about, it may be worth it to save and invest as much as possible now to get to your financial freedom number ASAP. Once you are there, you can comfortably pursue your dream career path without financial pressure. Once you have this rough estimate, you can work toward your plan to get there. That wraps up our discussion on retirement planning. If you're interested in learning more about personal finance and enhancing your financial journey, don't forget to check out the suggested video on the screen. Thank you for watching, and remember, stay calm and compound on.